All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another exciting broadcast on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. This is the Vinny Eastwood Show. Vinny with a Y, because it's the most important question, and Eastwood, like, go ahead, make my news. Now, we have to acknowledge that so many people who are talking on the radio these days and making a stand for justice and something of that nature, there's often consequences for this, you know, quite annoying consequences a lot of the time. Sometimes they threaten your money supply, threaten your family, or just your person. And sometimes you just need to be there to support them as they're going through the struggle. Today we have Santos Bonacci coming at us live from Australia. Santos, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Vinny. It's a pleasure.
What's been going on with you, man? Give us an update.
Well, I'm nice and free at the moment, I guess you could say. As you mentioned there, that people who speak truth are not really appreciated in this incarnation of Roman Empire, which we call society, civilization, slavery. Certainly not appreciated. Many have been the warriors and the truthers and the prophets that have been sent forth from Spirit in the past to speak against this evil materialistic machine. And they've suffered the consequences. And as you know, and probably some of the listeners, I've just done a spell in a cage, you could say, where they put humans, called prison, you see. And supposedly for contempt of court. Now, I'm not going to elaborate too much on the whole 6 weeks of being in prison and the so-called farce called contempt of court. Not at this moment. I need, a couple of hours, really. Vinny, you're lucky you you caught me at a time. Today I do have time to speak. I've had to actually say no to a lot of guys. For the moment, especially till the end of this month, because every day is going to be packed with activities. As you can imagine, I was released on the 22nd of September last month, and I've got lots of things to catch up on. I've got detoxing to do from poor quality food, terrible emotional, spiritual, physical, and mental climate in jail. I have some teeth to fix. I've got lots and lots of stuff to do before I head back north to where I'm going to be living. I'm in Victoria at the moment. But certainly, as you know, and you report weekly, daily probably, with people who are speaking the truth and the dangers and the risks that lie in doing so. What I bring to my friends and intelligent people around the world is syncretism. And that is the science of merging all the sciences. It's doable, and it has been done in the past. And it's actually the one and only thing that empire has persecuted and seeks to destroy forever. The moment it is spoken of anywhere on the planet, in whatever form, whether it's literature, whether it's philosophy, the spoken word, this system will come down hard on the prophets, the so-called prophets, or the clairvoyants, the seers, the truthers, the pathers. There you go, there's a good word, pather. One who is on the path and cannot and will not get off the path to eternal life and glory, because that's what awaits us. So just in a nutshell, Vinny, that's it. I'm detoxing at the moment and getting myself back to where I was before the 4th of August, when I was kidnapped by a bunch of thugs. And that's what they are. They're order followers. They are low-life bottom feeders who need help and love. I'm not angry at all. They need love because they've been traumatized themselves. They follow orders because in past lives they haven't done any soul development. And so they find themselves in this life with very, very weak love energy, will, and spirituality. They're cut off from the source of spirit, which is the source of their existence. It's like a fan. You pull the plug out of the wall, and it starts to wind down. It loses its energy source. So these individuals, they're committing thuggery, and they're also preparing themselves for many miserable lives to come, cycles of birth, suffering, and death, which they themselves will bear the consequences of. So individuals like us who are harmed by these other individuals have no choice but to forgive them and to send them love because they know not what they are doing. Now, that does not cover all of them. There are some out there who do know what they are doing. They know full well what they are doing, and they know full well that they will be rewarded according to their deeds. And it will be a sad day for those individuals. But all I can say, Vinny, for those people is just thank the heavens that they have taken that position, and it's not you and I, because we've chosen the truth path, and glory awaits us. It's only a matter of time.
Be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid, as Jack Blood says. This is I'm kind of like feeling it on you, bro. Like to be honest, what was the kind of did you feel the sort of initial shock once you realised you were actually being put in a cage?
Yeah, look, I prepared myself. Where I was living alone in a cottage, I prepared myself in every way, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. I got myself up to nearly 100% healthy, fitness, and I was doing really, really well. So I knew that potentially that day could come because, evil entities are not happy unless they perpetrate their evil schemes. And, of course, the bar and all of these organisations which work for the Crown, which is the triple crown of the three papal bulls of the Vatican. These bulls are basically just contracts to enslave mankind and to harvest all of their energy and all of their resources and direct them to the so-called New World Order and so forth. Big slave plantation of the Vatican and the Vatican families who hide behind that corporate, smokescreen veneer, and they truly are the evil of this planet. They themselves are also controlled, though, so mercy on these souls, But I prepared myself because I knew that that eventuality could happen, and so I fared pretty well. Really, I'm pretty happy with the preparation, especially the spiritual preparation. I came to a point in my development where I realised that all is happening in the now.
Well, I wonder. One of the things about prison, they say, is that you learn to become a better criminal. Because you have to associate with them,
Yeah, for sure.
You made any friends on the inside? Anybody in there for their own reasons?
Oh yeah, man! I met some sad stories in there. People that have been framed, their bonds are being milked by rich bar members who love to enrich their pockets with evil enrichment, and through the bonds, the birth certificate bonds, doing transactions of securities on the stock market, stock being slaves. And these poor individuals, I enlightened them. I mean, they did them a favour really by putting me in there. I was able to help a lot of people to see.
You literally had a captive audience.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was able to help a lot of young guys there and older ones too. There was one guy who was in jail for talking about his cure for cancer. There was another guy who was framed. He wrote up his will. He's got a lot of property, and he wrote up his will. Of course, when a barrister sees, fat wills that have got a lot of stuff in there, they send their thugs around. What they do in Australia is they send ASIO thugs to go around and cause trouble on their properties, start a fight, then go back and report to the police and have them charged for, for defending themselves on their own property. And then, of course, the proceedings start, and this one guy did 8 years in jail because he defended himself on his own property because a thug that was paid by the bar, of course, the Crown, to go and make trouble for him. He was doing jail time, 8 years, and he's got a $200,000 bill when he gets out for, costs and what have you and charges. And so this is what happens, when the greedy woe to you lawyer types, the money changers. These are the only two things that Jesus in the Gospels condemns, by the way, the money changers and the lawyers. When they find, fat wills that have got plenty of stuff in there, for them to steal, off they go. They send their thugs and cause harm to human living souls, and they disobey and violate the only law in existence, which is do no harm. So the money changers, who are they? The courts, the Crown, and the lawyers, the bar. Woe to them. Better it would be for them to tie a millstone around their neck and cast themselves into the sea than to have been born.
Well, it'd be certainly
and
better
I've seen
for
that
us.
firsthand. Yep. Yeah,
On top of this, in fact, this reminds me of a story that just came out in New Zealand a couple of days ago. I read it out on the broadcast. New Zealand is now going to make it a lot more difficult for journalists to go into prison and to interview people.
Oh yeah, of course they don't want people to know that a good percentage of the souls, the individuals in prison have been put in there by a nasty, illegitimate so-called government that is just corporate thuggery. And look, it matters not whether they prevail or whatever they do. It really doesn't matter, because as long as we know the truth and serve the truth with all of our energy, we will be rewarded thusly, and they will have their rewards. And as the scriptures say, do not envy the evil one. Do not marvel at his works and how he appears to prosper. For the day will come when you will look to the right and to the left, and you will look everywhere for him, and he will not be found. And this is a promise. These scriptures are written in stone. Those sacred works, shame that people take them literally and don't see the poetic and allegoric and anagogic truths that are embedded in the scriptures. But there is more truth in the metaphor and in the allegory, in the style in which they are written, than if they were written literally. But literal truths do come out of poetic, writings. And so when you realize that these scriptures were written in the past, but also in the future, because they know the future, because all is now, then you realize how true they are. There will be a day when you won't have these monkey order followers who are controlled by a pedophile elite. because they will be consumed by the fires of truth. The universe is a loving universe at its source, not at its effect. Its cause is pure love. Its effect is love and so-called evil, because it's dualistic, it's polarized. And so in the effect world, the electrical world of effects, we have a war between Satan and Jesus, Horus and Set, Rama and Ravana, etc., etc. And so what we are witnessing is the playing out in space and time of people's true nature. People are allowed time to show what stuff they're really made of. And so, as I said before, be thankful that they go in your place, that they are actually doing the evil deeds, which are abhorrent to you and I, and and therefore go into that dreadful place where only misery and suffering exists. And so, as all the scriptures say, in the material planets, wherever birth and death in physical bodies occurs, there will always be suffering. And there are many, many millions of physical planets in the universe. And there are also many, many millions and billions of spiritual planets, which are the counterparts, where only bliss, Sat Chit Ananda, Vigraha exist. But at present, we're trapped on this middle kingdom prison planet called Earth for various reasons. Some, for punishment. Some have chosen to come here to help others. According to the Hermetica, according to the Bhagavad Gita and all the great works. And so the good deeds that we do go before us, when our bodies are done with these vehicles, and the ones who have spoken the truth go to better places. The ones who have remembered the supreme source and cause, whether you call him Krishna, Christ, Jehovah, Atum, Allah, matters not. But that one is the one of the whole universe, and the ones who are devoted to that, which is truth, being, they will have their rewards. And so, no use having any grudge, any bitterness. Just let them play out their desires and their will, and all will be sorted out.
I was thinking about this actually the other day, and it kind of struck a chord with me. In fact, the passage you just quoted there, because I noticed that if you are honest and generous and you help others and things like that, and you self-sacrifice for the good of things that are greater than you, just the man, you don't get a whole lot of financial rewards from it, and you don't get a whole lot of power from it. But if you're deceitful and you steal and you lie and cheat, then those rewards come to you massively. And I found myself wondering, why is it that the honest are made to live in poverty so often, and the dishonest are the ones who become the super wealthy?
Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. What that means is there's a different reward for souls who seek goodness. Goodness is godness. The Neoplatonists considered these two terms interchangeable, God and good. And so blessed are they. Already you know the blessings, you have an inkling of the blessings to come. But these ones, they have a dread. The materialists who gratify their selfhood and aggrandize their egos in sense gratification, they don't know this, they don't understand this, they laugh at this. They think this is foolish talk because they only see how they can be benefited by material things, and so their paunch is their god, their belly. And, they serve material interests, power, greed, fame, glory, success, what they call success, prosperity, growth. They always talk about productivity and capitalism and growth. And what is this? This is basically the growing of their pockets. They want more in their pockets. They're never satisfied. A rich man will never be satisfied with their riches, because even the riches that they seem to acquire do not belong to them. They belong to the universe. They're just atoms. They're just molecules that are here one day and gone the next. They're transient molecules, and these individuals think that they can capture them and control them and manipulate them and have power over the material world. This is all delusion and a chasing after the wind. But unfortunately, you can't even speak this to them. You just cannot, because they do not have the spiritual mind. They're not imbued in the higher mind. Once you get on the path of truth, this is when the higher mind expands, and you can only but serve that mind. This is what we're here to do. Yoga and meditation all lead to devotion to truth, devotion to the Lord and being of truth. So beyond creation is being, and we are living beings, but we are also creatures. How can we be both? Creatures are created. Beings are not created. And so, this is because our source is in the highest of all levels of living and being in the universe. Mankind, the Adamic race, Adam is the sine wave, the ecliptic, as I've proven in all my presentations. Originates from cause, the Empyrean, and this is the place to which we return. If we haven't stained ourselves with blood of killing and murdering and telling lies and living in lust. These are all things that are severely condemned in all the scriptures. For instance, in Bhagavad Gita, the four pillars of truth to be avoided at all costs would be meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. Whereas in the Judeo-Christian scriptures, they have their equivalent would be gluttony, drunkenness, fornication, and loose conduct. Those are the four pillars. And basically, avoiding those four things, one is immediately immersed in the higher mind. Now, this is pretty shocking to a lot of people because, free sex, intoxication of all kinds, gambling, taking risks, making the mind very, very agitated, because that's what gambling does. You see, we put our hope in false things. So this is why the Bhagavad Gita, probably the greatest spiritual work, in my opinion, my humble opinion, it would have to be, on par with the Bible, which is my favourite book. A lot of people cringe when I say that because they really have the perspective of the corporate churches when they think of the Bible. There's nothing literal in it at all. It's pure literary work, and it's a work of poetry. So, basically those are the things to avoid. It's unfortunate that we've been indoctrinated to think that those things that please the senses so much are part of, natural living, but they are not.
They're part of our daily life. In fact, that's kind of people's only motivation, really. And as a result, those things don't actually make you happy, Temporarily you feel good, but if you sit them down really quiet and just go, what makes you happy in life? I don't know. Yeah, you got all the pornography you want, all the drugs that you need, all the alcohol you can drink, all the cigarettes you can smoke, all the money in the world, but you're miserable because you don't really have anything.
Yeah, very true. Service, self-service, sense gratification, these will all lead to repeated cycles of life and death and misery and suffering. Yes, there will be some pleasure. You know, it's the garden of earth is a pleasure garden. There's no doubt about that, and we all dabble in there. No one's perfect. I'm not saying I am at all. We know that we're not, but we strive to improve. We strive to correct what is erroneous in us, and we look for truth in everywhere we can find it, and adapt to that truth as we go. I know I've improved immensely over the years, and I've got a long ways to go. But it is important to acknowledge the truths that will lead to, quote-unquote, salvation. Salvation has the root salt in it, and salt is the key electric mineral which sustains living. That's why all of the liquids in the bodies have salt in them, you know, urine, saliva, blood, the nerve fluid, and all of the liquids, sweat. And so this is the source, the key of salvation, to balance the chemistry of the body, to balance what is not right in us, and sublimate, you know, the lead into gold, the vices into virtues. It's pretty simple. I mean, we know this. We know this in our heart of hearts. It's not something that we learn automatically by going to church. They always veil the truth. They always colour the truth, manipulate it and distort it. But you can never, ever eradicate the truth from your heart. Problem is, a lot of people don't hear that truth because they don't meditate enough. And, you know, their hearts, they're following sense gratification desires, which will, as I said, lead to many, many cycles of suffering and misery. And so to escape this, one has to serve the higher consciousness. That's all you've got to do. It's so simple. Salvation, or whatever you want to call it, ascension, is very, very simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Serve the higher mind, not the lower mind, which is animalistic. How much more simple can it be? All the scriptures tell you that. You know, some say serve Krishna. Be a devotee of Krishna. Some say, you know, worship the Christ. In no other name shall you be saved. In Egypt, they said all
Santos,
is
you're breaking
atum,
up there quite
revere
a bit.
atum. Well, it's the higher mind. It's even beyond the higher. Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, there's a little bit of a delay. Do you want to quickly hang up and ring back? It might resolve the issue.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cheers. We'll just reset there for a second. Now, in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, I think what this has taught me is that a lot of religious beliefs actually have a lot of, you know, basis in factual and reality, and that's how I perceive religion and any kind of belief structure, is that there actually has to have a reason to do it. There has to be a good reason. Now, I think that the whole concept of delayed gratification is a good idea, because ultimately what's happening with a lot of our lives at the moment is we're getting constantly gratified all the time. We lose taste for it. You know, it simply no longer matters anymore. We don't. It loses the flavour if you get something good all the time, and that's the problem with our lives. Is that the hardship and the suffering we have is kind of meaningless. And I wonder as well if you're going through a lot of meaningless suffering, why exactly would you continue to do it once you realize the futility of it? And I think this is one of the essential cruxes that people who are like trapped in the workforce or trapped in the education system or, just trapped in any way, shape or form in your life, don't continue it if it doesn't make any sense doing it. Santos, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks.
Sounding a lot better.
Great.
Now, where were we?
Well, I was speaking about service to the higher mind, the spiritual mind, and that's what it's all about. Some call it truth. We're truthers. Whatever you want to call it, but this is the path, the way back to bliss, because our core nature is bliss, consciousness and existence, Sat, Chit, Ananda. And so to escape misery and suffering, there's only one way. Indulging in sense gratification is simply not the way. Yes, you'll get a lot of pleasure, but on the other side of pleasure, it's a two-sided coin, there will be pain. Inescapable.
Now, I've started to kind of realise that the pain's basically what's valuable in my life. Like, most of the really valuable lessons have been the ones that have cost me quite a lot.
Yep, very true. They are valuable because, as it says in the Bhagavad Gita, we are souls that have need of discipline or have been wayward, are sent into this materialistic world to feel the pain, gather experience, and bring those back and be more, add to our soul content when we return, rather than be less when we return. As the parable of of Jesus in the gospel, he says the kingdom of the heavens is like a man who gives his slaves 1 denarii, another one 2, another one 5. And the wicked ones, they buried their denarii because they were fearful of the master. Whereas the good slave, he invested it and brought a return. Well, basically, this is a slave of, not a slave as in the materialistic sense. It's a slave of one who cannot but serve truth. And they bring back 100-fold in interest because they invest that denarii, that gift. We all have gifts. But some people are too busy chasing jobs and money to appreciate the valuable gifts that they have in their hearts, the gems that they have, the qualities, the talents, and divine.
Just kind of like this constant fear of scarcity, like, oh, there's not enough money to pay the rent next week, I've got to go and work, and blah, 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 blah. Sometimes if you kind of like give up everything and you stop worrying about scarcity and you start thinking about abundance and doing your own thing, everything that you need turns up for you when you need it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it does. I remember when I was a Jehovah's Witness, I used to love the expression Jehovah Jireh, which means Jehovah provides. Because when you're in service, even though that was a very materialistic mindset of service, I was part of a corporate church, the principle still works because it's a universe of abundance. It provides. It just provides. Everything is provided for. This is why the distraction of money is so harmful. Once upon a time there was trade and barter, and everything got done. Everything was taken care of, and there was plenty of provision, and there was no scarcity. There never is scarcity. There are cycles when there's more and less, but never is there so little that there's just not enough. Everything's manageable. And so, as you say, if you put the more important things
Oh no, we're breaking up again, Santos.
Truth,
Yeah, just quickly hang up and ring
peace,
straight back
love,
again, and we'll get you right back
kindness,
on. Should only be a
mildness.
few seconds. There you go. Are you back?
Yep.
All right, there we go. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so the virtues, we know what they are. We know what virtues are. Don't have to talk about that. And so if we pursue those and put those first, there's no doubt about the outcome. Never will the universe deny us greater things, greater eternal glory, according to our works. This is the most assured rule. You know, they say in this world there's nothing surer than death and taxes. Well, there's a much more sublime truth to that. That's the materialist mind speaking there, that has been indoctrinated by empire, Rome. Whereas this true universal truth is that the one who is on the path of truth will never be denied an immense eternal glory, everlasting. Because in this world there is it's a conditioned world of a temporal conditioned world, time, temp. And so there's temporal existence, bodies born, bodies die, and then there's everlasting unconditioned. And so we participate in both natures. And we've been given emotion and mind, the two creators of the soul. Mind learns and emotion experiences. And when we bring the harvest of experience and learning and develop mind and emotion equally and in a balanced way, because many don't do this. Many have advanced minds but don't have much EQ. They have IQ but no EQ, or vice versa. Some people are very emotionally balanced and happy and evolved, but mentally they're suffering. And so when we look after these two creators, both male and female, in their designation, then the soul grows and we add more to the soul. And this is what's called saving the soul. Losing the soul is the opposite, where people actually neglect nurturing their psychic makeup and go after the sense gratification. And so they build their whole world around it. Power, progress. There's another word. Progress. Oh, it's so good in the eyes of the materialist. They want progress, more railroads and more aeroplanes in the sky and more industry, so we can make more stuff and buy more stuff, and to the detriment and in spite of the soul. And so you see a world where they put billions into space travel and things like that, and yet you see more and more homeless on the street, suffering, wars ravaging the world, politicians lying, murdering, mass murderers like the Bushes and the Clintons and Obama and Brown and all of these goons, liars, and we're happy to have them stand up on their little soapboxes and continue to spew out lies, venomous lies. These are individuals that should be jailed immediately. They should be arrested. Warrants should be issued by all of humanity, and they should be arrested, stopped in their tracks, and a legitimate form of self-government should be, re-established, as it was many years ago when matriarchy ruled. Patriarchy is the absolute poison. Never works. It never works in this universe. It's a universe of feminine goddess energy, really, Isis, etc. And so to go against that monotheism and patriarchy and all of this setup of the world has really just poisoned the world and caused so much detriment to mankind. And you can see that. It's pretty obvious. People know, they can see. They see the news. They read the papers. And there's nothing but trouble upon trouble in the earth simply because men don't have the answer and care not to listen to the answer. They want to fill their pockets with gold and their bellies with riches, Time for change, and it has changed. The solar system has already upgraded its own DNA, its physical, spiritual, emotional, and mental DNA. The solar system is a being, and it's also a creature. So when you look at the sun, as I've proven in all my astrotheological presentations, the sun is Krishna. Not the physical sun that we see, that's the body, the part that burns and produces heat. Because behind that, back of the physical sun is the emotional and mental sun, and back of that is the spiritual sun. And this is Krishna, Vivasvan, Rama, the Ram, the Lamb of God. And so it's no use looking at these bodies as, they were rocks in the sky or what have you. They are beings. They are beings, they are prime creator, and they are creator at the same time. They are all expansions of Krishna. So are you and I. Can't deny that, and if we do, well, you only punish yourself, because it's going to take eons of time to come to that realization that we are all particles and parts and parcels of the one. Call it Krishna if you will, whatever you want. But the solar system has definitely been upgraded because that's what it does. These things are promised in prophecy. All the prophecies foretell the time when paradise will be reestablished on the earth, and so we have to follow suit. For some reason, the evil ones are still just hanging on, by the skin of their teeth, to this this game called control and government and etc. It's an illusion, it's a delusion, and it's falsehood, and it will come down like a house of cards, in 1 hour, as the scriptures say. Babylon, woe to Babylon, and it has fallen in 1 hour. It's fallen because supposedly in history, Babylon was defeated in 1 hour. The waters of the Euphrates were diverted. And, Cyrus, the great liberator, Cyrus would be Osiris, of course, Orion, Osiris, delivered the Jews, God's people, in other words, spiritual people, from physical bondage and from slavery. And so this commercial system of slavery called Rome and the crown, the triple crown, which would be Convocation, Attorney Regis, and Pontifex Maximus, the three papal bulls created in the 15 and 1600s, rather the 14 and 1500s. They'll be defunct. They already are, and their influence will cease forever. It'll be a pile of dung in the desert where jackals and serpents and scorpions abide.
Well, they'll feel right at home.
Yeah, they are. Well, these entities are jackals. They're vampires, hyenas, vultures. They're scavengers, parasites. They're pernicious. They're pillagers. They're plunderers. As the great Tacitus once wrote, the Romans are deadly pillagers of the world. They have exhausted the earth with their indiscriminate plunder. A rich enemy excites their lust for wealth, a poor one their craving for power. Robbery, butchery, and rape they call government. They create a desert and call it peace. Have a look around, see if you don't see all that happening right now. That's Tacitus, 2,000 years ago, quoting the Caledonian king. of course, because all of these countries that were raped, Julius Caesar murdered a million Celtic French. Then they massacred all the Iberian Peninsula and overtook that, annexed it. Then, of course, they raped Boudicca's 2 daughters in front of her when they went to England and took over that little Londinian enterprise, the Corporation of London, which is one of Rome's little children, prostitutes. Of course, they raped and pillaged the Goths and the Vandals and all of those nations. And then, of course, they sent forth the so-called Columbus the murderer, which was just a corporation of the Vatican, call it, I don't know, Templars, I suppose, or Knights, an order of knights, and they went and raped the Americas. They came to this country and destroyed the Aboriginal culture, and all in the name, of course, of this Christendom, the dome, the kingdom of Christ. This is not the true Christ that dwells in our hearts, the Christ consciousness. This is the Church of Peter. Peter is Petra, stone. The Church of Stone. You see, when you go to Rome, you see a lot of buildings made of stone, and they call it the Christian Church. Well, that's the Church of Petra. Upon this church upon this rock mass I will build my church. Whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. So, of course, the corporate church that collects Peter's pence based on the donation of Constantine. This is the bull, the papal bull, or the contract in which mankind have been enslaved. It's the basis of all the other papal bulls in existence. And they collect Peter's pence for the Church of Petra so that they can build their empire of stone. But see, we're not made of stone, we're made of spirit. And everything is spirit. The material world is just another version, another condition of spirit. But those who place all their hopes and treasures in that part of temporal existence will lose the other part. And it's a choice we all have to make. I know I'm on the path, and I will never be moved away from the path. I know the right path to be on, and I'll speak it forth forever on the rooftops. And no one will be able to shut this voice up, Vinny. And I know the same applies to you, brother. That's why I'm on this show with you.
Well, I thank you very much as well for coming on the show today, Ro. And I was talking with James Wright, who's blowing the whistle on the Freemasons, and we both came to this realization that a place with peace and bliss and all of that kind of thing, because we've all been fighting so long and been so damaged by the fight itself, there's no place for us there.
Yeah, yep. See, the big think tanks of the elite, call it the Club of Rome, the Bilderbergers, all of these criminals, they engage the chattel, the sheeple, in useless chasing after the wind scam projects like, global warming, and we have to do something to save the earth and the animals and this and that and whatever, and give your money to cancer research, not cancer cures and real healing, just treatments, so we can collect it forever and ever and ever. And so, you got all these people, doing 10-mile walks and to raise money for this and that, and just to put more money in the Rothschilds' pockets. They haven't got enough. They've shed about, 3 billion lives of blood since the Napoleonic wars, World War I, World War II, and they don't have enough royal palaces all around the planet with gold taps and ivory and marble, all whilst, 2/3 of the world's population are starving to death and sick and malnourished, and poverty is increasing. But of course their royal palaces keep getting fatter and bigger and everything like that, because everybody gives to the Salvation Army, which is run by the Rothschilds, Red Cross, which is another word for Rothschild, Red Cross, Roth being red and child meaning shield, Red Shield appeal, hello, and people just, pull out this blood money cash and just give it back to them. And of course, that cash has no value at all. It's stained with blood, but it makes the pockets of the Rothschilds and the Vatican families a lot richer. So there's a lot of chasing after the wind, but let them go. These are the fools who wish to live in such a way, and they will have to learn eventually, who knows, in another 600 or 700 lives of suffering that they have to go through until they learn to get on the path. Cramped and narrow is the path that leads to everlasting life. Broad and spacious is the road leading off to perdition, and many are the ones who are on it.
I think that, a lot of the time you have to go through these sort of struggles alone. You don't have a bit of support, and I think sometimes that independent streak needs to be nourished by having its own time to grow, but also sometimes it can be greatly threatened by complete and total isolation, especially if not asking for help and things like that. I found a lot of people who need help are just too proud to ask for it, or they don't believe that they'd get it. When they do ask for help and they get it, it surprises them.
Yep, absolutely. There is a kind of an isolation feeling there, but of course, if we just remember that we are eternal, that we are all that is, that was, and ever will be, and that we are connected directly to Source, once we acknowledge that Source and devote ourselves to that Source, then we are never alone. There's only the now, it's eternal, and we have everything we need right now, everything that we need, and as we add to that knowing, then we will see how the universe just keeps putting things at the right time in front of us for us to enjoy and to use in service of truth, in the service of our brothers. And nothing greater is that calling than to heed that call to serve truth. And people that like to make truth a word think that it's subjective, that it's subject to conditions. No. Truth is a being. It is the being that permeates the whole universe. The universe is truth. Thoth. Truth. And there is only truth. If we want to, we can be deluded by falsehood, temporal falsehood, but there's only truth and service to truth.
That's right. Santos Bonacci, ladies and gentlemen, universaltruthschool.com is his website. Be wary of the pernicious pillaging parasites plundering Peter's pence for the Church of Petra on the road to perdition, by the way. I'll send that to you, actually, bro. You could, I don't know, put that on a bumper sticker or something.
Hallelujah.
Thanks for spending an hour with me, mate.
My pleasure, brother.
All right, have a wonderful day, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. We'll be right back next hour with Max Egan.